Introduction. Self-care. It's a word we hear often these days, especially when the stress of life feels overwhelming. We're told it's essential for maintaining our mental health and overall well-being. We've seen the images: bubble baths, face masks, yoga retreats, and indulging in all the things that make us feel good in the moment. But what if self-care is more than just those fleeting moments of pampering? What if self-care isn't just about treating ourselves when we're exhausted or burnt out, but about taking proactive steps every day to nourish our minds, bodies, and souls? In a world that constantly demands more from us, work, family, responsibilities, and the pressure to perform at our best, self-care has become something that is often overlooked or misunderstood. The focus has shifted to quick fixes: a spa day, a weekend getaway, or an evening of indulgence. And while these moments of self-pampering are important, they aren't the true foundation of self-care. Real self-care is about more than relaxation or temporary escape. It's about understanding our needs, setting healthy boundaries, and taking responsibility for our own well-being. It's about learning to nurture ourselves with the same care and attention that we give to others, but in a way that is sustainable and long-lasting. The truth is, many of us have been conditioned to put others before ourselves. We're often told that taking care of our own needs is selfish or indulgent, but when we constantly give without replenishing ourselves, we become empty, fatigued, and disconnected from our own needs. We're left feeling overwhelmed, anxious, and emotionally drained. So how do we begin to truly take care of ourselves in a way that lasts? How do we create a self-care practice that doesn't just give us a temporary sense of relief, but actually supports our long-term mental, physical, and emotional health? In this audiobook, we're going to explore the true meaning of self-care, how it's about much more than occasional pampering, and how it can be a powerful tool for creating a more balanced, fulfilling life. Self-care is not a luxury or a quick fix, it's a necessity. It's about making intentional choices every day to honor your well-being, nurture your body, and protect your mental health. It's about creating habits that foster resilience, emotional stability, and a sense of peace, no matter what life throws your way. Through the chapters ahead, we will delve into the many facets of self-care, from mental wellness to physical health, emotional boundaries, and spiritual nourishment. We'll explore the science behind self-care, how to build a practice that fits into your life, and how to shift your mindset so that self-care becomes an integral part of who you are, rather than something you turn to only when you're running on empty. The journey we're about to take will not just help you understand self-care, it will empower you to make it a living, breathing part of your daily routine. By the end of this audiobook, you will have a new perspective on self-care, one that goes beyond the bubble baths and massages, and that reflects the true work of nourishing your mind, body, and soul. It's time to stop waiting for the next break to pamper yourself and start recognizing that self-care is a daily commitment, one that requires attention, intention, and a willingness to prioritize your own well-being. Chapter 1. Understanding true self-care and its importance. Self-care is a word that we often hear tossed around, especially in conversations about mental health, personal well-being, and productivity. Yet in many cases, the concept has been diluted to represent a moment of indulgence or luxury: a spa day, a face mask, a quiet evening of relaxation with a glass of wine. While these moments of pampering can certainly have their place, they are only a small piece of the much larger, more profound practice of true self-care. The reality is, self-care is not about the occasional bubble bath or temporary relief. It's about creating sustainable habits and a mindset that prioritizes your well-being in the midst of daily life. It's about making choices that protect and nourish your mental, emotional, and physical health every single day. To understand why true self-care matters, we first need to explore the gap between what self-care is and what we often think it is. So many of us have been conditioned to believe that self-care is a form of indulgence, a special treat for when we are feeling depleted or overwhelmed. It's seen as something reserved for me time, for moments when we have the time, energy, and resources to give ourselves some attention. However, this narrow definition of self-care is misleading. True self-care is not something we turn to only when we're at our breaking point. It's not about waiting until we are emotionally or physically drained to give ourselves a break. It's about proactively taking care of ourselves day by day as part of our ongoing commitment to our mental and physical health. The truth is that self-care is much more than pampering or treating ourselves. True self-care is a mindset, one that acknowledges that you are your most valuable asset. It's about taking the time to listen to your body, to respect your emotional needs, and to protect your mental space from stresses that can deplete you. But too often, we neglect ourselves. We put the needs of others first, we overcommit ourselves, and we find ourselves running on empty, struggling to keep up with the demands of life. The problem with this is that when we ignore our own needs, we become drained, stressed, and overwhelmed, making it harder to show up fully for others. Over time, neglecting self-care can lead to burnout, emotional fatigue, and a loss of joy and fulfillment in our lives. Self-care is not just about pampering yourself when things get tough. It's about building a solid foundation that allows you to face life's challenges with strength, resilience, and balance. The practice of self-care requires awareness, a willingness to recognize when you are stretched too thin, when your mental health is taking a toll, and when it's time to step back and reprioritize your well-being. It's about making self-compassion a habit rather than an afterthought. True self-care is not a one-time event, but a daily commitment to yourself. It is about carving out time to nourish your body, mind, and spirit, even when life feels chaotic and demanding. But how do we begin the journey of true self-care? The first step is to shift our perspective. We need to stop thinking of self-care as a luxury or an indulgence and start viewing it as a necessity. If we truly want to be our best selves, we must recognize that taking care of ourselves isn't just a luxury we indulge in during our free time. It's a crucial investment in our long-term health and happiness. Just like maintaining a car with regular oil changes and checkups, we must do the same for our bodies and minds. We don't wait until we break down. We practice regular maintenance so that we remain strong, capable, and energized in all aspects of our lives. To make self-care a lasting practice, we must start by identifying what we truly need. Self-care isn't a one-size-fits-all solution. It's not about adhering to a specific set of rules or routines. It's about finding what works for you as an individual. What restores your energy? What brings you peace? What helps you reconnect with yourself? For some, self-care may involve physical activity, taking a walk, going for a run, or practicing yoga. For others, it might be more emotional, taking time to journal, reflect, or engage in creative activities that help clear the mind. The key is to be intentional about how you care for yourself. This means recognizing your own needs and responding to them, rather than waiting for burnout to strike. It's about developing habits that not only serve your well-being, but also support you in your personal and professional goals. For many of us, the journey toward true self-care starts with setting boundaries. In a world that constantly demands more from us, whether it's in our professional lives, personal relationships, or through social media and technology, it's easy to lose ourselves in the demands of others. We say yes to every request, every invitation, and every task, often at the expense of our own well-being. But learning to say no when necessary is a crucial part of self-care. Boundaries are about recognizing your limits and respecting them. They're about being clear about what you need and what you're willing to give. Setting boundaries helps protect your time, energy, and mental health, ensuring that you don't become overwhelmed by the needs of others. This process of saying no, though, can be difficult. It requires practice, courage, and a shift in the way we think about ourselves and our time. Saying no doesn't mean you are being selfish. It means you are taking responsibility for your well-being. In addition to boundaries, nourishing your body is a key aspect of self-care. We often forget that our physical health is deeply connected to our mental and emotional health. When we don't get enough sleep, eat poorly, or neglect our bodies through inactivity, our ability to focus, think clearly, and manage stress diminishes. Self-care involves feeding our bodies with the nutrients they need to thrive, eating healthy whole foods, staying hydrated, and getting enough sleep. Exercise, too, plays a critical role in self-care. It not only strengthens the body, but also releases endorphins that improve mood and reduce stress. It's important to remember that self-care isn't about perfection. It's not about sticking to a rigid diet or workout regimen. It's about doing what feels right for you, paying attention to how your body feels, and taking steps to care for it every day. Another important aspect of self-care is mental wellness. In our fast-paced world, it's easy to get caught up in the hustle and bustle and forget to tend to our mental health. But our minds need as much care as our bodies. Mental wellness involves taking steps to manage stress, reduce anxiety, and engage in activities that nourish your emotional well-being. Meditation, mindfulness, and breathing exercises are great tools for managing stress and improving focus. Taking breaks throughout the day, even if it's just for a few minutes, can significantly improve your mental clarity and reduce burnout. And just as we tend to our bodies with physical nourishment, we must also make time for emotional nourishment. This might involve spending time with loved ones, engaging in creative pursuits, or simply allowing yourself the space to relax and recharge. When we talk about self-care, it's easy to think of it as an individual practice. But social connection is also an essential aspect of self-care. Humans are inherently social creatures, and the relationships we build with others are vital to our emotional well-being. In today's world, we often neglect our social needs in favor of career ambitions or other personal pursuits. But making time for meaningful relationships is an important form of self-care. Whether it's spending quality time with family, friends, or even engaging with a community of like-minded individuals, social connection provides us with emotional support, validation, and a sense of belonging. These connections are vital to maintaining a sense of balance and reducing feelings of isolation. True self-care involves embracing balance, the ability to nurture all aspects of yourself. It's about caring for your body, your mind, and your emotional well-being without neglecting any one area. By committing to self-care, you are making the conscious decision to live with more awareness and intention. You are choosing to invest in yourself so that you can show up more fully in your work, your relationships, and your life. Self-care is not an indulgence. It is an essential practice that lays the foundation for a happy, healthy, and balanced life. By shifting your mindset from self-care as a luxury to self-care as a necessity, you can begin to create a life that is centered around well-being. When we care for ourselves, we are better able to care for others, better equipped to handle life's challenges, and better positioned to achieve our goals. True self-care is about nurturing your whole self, from the inside out, and creating a sustainable practice that supports your happiness, peace, and personal growth. As we move into the following chapters, we will explore how to build practical self-care habits that work for you, how to address the barriers that may be holding you back from embracing self-care, and how to maintain a consistent practice that will serve you for years to come. Through the lens of self-compassion, awareness, and intentionality, we will learn how to bring self-care into every aspect of our lives, not as a fleeting luxury, but as a fundamental part of who we are. Chapter 2. Setting boundaries and prioritizing yourself. We are living in a world that is perpetually busy, a world where our time is constantly demanded, where our attention is spread thin across a multitude of tasks and responsibilities, and where self-care often gets lost amidst the clutter. Many of us spend our days meeting the needs of others, handling work and personal obligations, and trying to keep up with the expectations that society, family, and even we ourselves place on our shoulders. And in this endless cycle of giving, we forget one crucial aspect of self-care. Boundaries are essential for maintaining our mental, emotional, and physical well-being. They are the invisible lines that protect us, allowing us to keep our energy, time, and emotional resources intact. Without boundaries, we find ourselves overcommitted, overwhelmed, and at risk of burnout. The constant push to meet the needs of others, coupled with the pressure to excel in every area of our lives, can leave us drained, stressed, and disconnected from our own needs. Boundaries are the key to protecting ourselves from this depletion and ensuring that we have the energy and space to care for ourselves. But here's the paradox. Many of us feel uncomfortable setting boundaries. We fear that saying no will make us appear selfish, unkind, or uncooperative. We worry about letting people down, disappointing others, or being seen as unavailable. Society often praises the self-sacrificial person, the one who gives everything to others, the one who seems to have no limits. In a world that values productivity and achievement, setting boundaries can feel like an act of defiance or selfishness. But the truth is, without boundaries, we are not truly helping anyone, least of all ourselves. Boundaries are not about shutting others out. They are about protecting your energy, your mental health, and your well-being. They are about recognizing that you cannot pour from an empty cup. When we give too much, without considering our own needs, we risk depleting ourselves to the point where we have nothing left to offer. Setting boundaries is about understanding your limits and respecting them. It's about saying, I need this space, I need this time, and I am worthy of taking care of myself. To begin building boundaries, it's important to first recognize the areas in your life where you feel overextended. This could be at work, at home, or in your personal relationships. Do you often say yes to things when you want to say no? Do you take on responsibilities that drain you or take up more time than you can afford? Are you neglecting your own needs because you are focused on the needs of others? These are signs that your boundaries may need attention. The first step in setting boundaries is self-awareness. You need to become attuned to your own needs, emotions, and limits. Pay attention to how you feel when you are overcommitted, or when you're in situations that leave you feeling drained or resentful. These feelings are signals from your body and mind that your boundaries are being crossed. Take note of when you feel overwhelmed or stretched too thin. Ask yourself, what is it that I need right now? What is it that I'm not giving myself? These questions will help you identify where your boundaries need to be set and reinforced. Once you've identified your limits, it's time to start communicating your boundaries. This can be one of the most difficult aspects of setting boundaries, especially if you're used to saying yes to everyone and everything. It can feel uncomfortable to assert yourself and to tell others that you cannot meet their needs in the way they expect. However, learning to say no is essential for your mental and emotional health. Saying no does not mean you are being selfish or unkind. It simply means that you are honoring your own needs. When you communicate your boundaries, you are not rejecting others. You are accepting and protecting yourself. Start small. Set boundaries in areas of your life where it feels easiest. For example, you might begin by setting a boundary with your time, deciding that you will not answer emails after a certain hour, or that you will take one day each week to rest and recharge. Practice saying no to commitments that don't align with your priorities or values. Each time you say no, you are reinforcing your boundaries and sending a message to yourself that your needs matter. Over time, saying no will become easier, and you will feel more empowered to protect your energy and your time. Another important aspect of setting boundaries is learning to protect your emotional energy. In many relationships, we give so much of ourselves to others that we neglect our own emotional needs. We may find ourselves drained, overwhelmed, or emotionally exhausted because we've been too focused on others' problems, emotions, and expectations. Protecting your emotional energy means learning to say no to situations and people that drain you or leave you feeling unsupported. It means knowing when to step away from toxic relationships or environments and when to take a break from emotionally charged situations. Setting emotional boundaries is also about recognizing when your feelings are being invalidated or when your needs are not being respected. If you feel unappreciated, disrespected, or unsupported, it is important to voice these feelings and set boundaries around how you allow others to treat you. You have the right to stand up for your emotional well-being and to communicate when something doesn't feel right. A powerful tool for protecting your emotional energy is practicing emotional detachment. This doesn't mean you stop caring about others or that you become distant. Rather, it means learning to separate yourself from others' emotions. When someone is upset, stressed, or angry, it can be easy to take on those emotions and absorb them as your own. But emotional detachment allows you to recognize that other people's emotions are not your responsibility. You can care for them without carrying their emotional burden. This practice helps you maintain your own emotional balance, even in challenging situations. In addition to emotional boundaries, it's important to set mental boundaries. In our modern world, our minds are constantly bombarded with information. We are always processing new data, answering emails, checking social media, and responding to external stimuli. The constant mental noise can leave us feeling exhausted and unfocused. Setting mental boundaries means giving yourself permission to disconnect, to step away from technology, social media, and other sources of mental overload. This can be as simple as setting a designated time each day to turn off your phone or creating a digital detox period where you spend time away from screens. It might mean creating quiet, distraction-free spaces where you can focus on work or personal projects. Protecting your mental space is crucial for staying focused, creative, and productive. It's about giving your mind the space it needs to rest and recharge so that you can return to your tasks with clarity and energy. Finally, physical boundaries are an essential part of self-care. Our bodies require rest, nourishment, and care in order to function at their best. But too often, we push ourselves too hard, ignore our body's signals, or neglect our physical health in the name of productivity or success. Setting physical boundaries means recognizing when your body is tired and giving it the rest it needs. It means saying no to overworking or overexerting yourself and instead honoring your body's need for sleep, food, and movement. Physical self-care might also involve creating time for regular exercise, eating nourishing foods, and engaging in activities that rejuvenate your body. This could mean taking a walk, doing yoga, or simply resting when you're feeling fatigued. Physical self-care is about being in tune with your body, listening to its signals, and taking action to preserve your health and well-being. As you begin to implement boundaries in your life, it's important to practice self-compassion. Setting boundaries can feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you're used to saying yes to everything or putting the needs of others before your own. It may feel selfish or difficult to say no, but self-care is not selfish. It's necessary for your health and happiness. The more you practice setting boundaries, the more natural it will feel, and the more you'll realize that honoring your boundaries is an act of self-respect. By protecting your time, energy, and emotional well-being, you are ensuring that you have the resources to show up for others in the most meaningful way possible. In the next chapter, we will dive deeper into nourishing your mind, with practices that help you stay focused, grounded, and mentally healthy. Setting boundaries is just one piece of the puzzle when it comes to building a sustainable self-care practice, and it's essential to have a holistic approach to your mental, emotional, and physical well-being. By combining boundaries with other self-care practices, you can create a balanced life that supports your health, happiness, and success. Chapter 3. Nourishing your body, the foundation of self-care. Our bodies are the vessels that carry us through life. They allow us to experience the world, engage with the people we love, and pursue our goals and dreams. Yet, in the midst of busy schedules, overwhelming responsibilities, and constant demands, our physical health often becomes an afterthought. We put our bodies through stress, neglect proper nutrition, and ignore the signals they send us when we're fatigued, sick, or overworked. We may convince ourselves that the extra hours of work or the skipped meals are just part of getting through life. But the reality is that neglecting our physical health can have long-term consequences that affect every aspect of our well-being. Self-care is often thought of as something that's emotional or mental, taking time for a bath, a massage, or a quiet moment of relaxation. While those are important aspects of self-care, nourishing your body is the foundation on which everything else is built. If we don't take care of our bodies, it becomes harder to focus, to feel emotionally stable, and to maintain the energy needed to navigate life's challenges. When we fail to prioritize our physical health, everything else begins to crumble. Mental and emotional exhaustion start to set in. Stress levels rise, and we find ourselves running on empty, struggling to keep up with our responsibilities. True self-care begins with honoring the body and recognizing that our physical health is just as important as our emotional and mental well-being. It's about taking intentional steps every day to nourish and care for ourselves physically through proper nutrition, movement, rest, and hydration. The process of nourishing your body isn't about achieving perfection or adhering to a rigid set of rules. It's about listening to your body and giving it what it needs to thrive. The first step in nourishing your body is recognizing the importance of food as fuel. We live in a world where convenience often trumps nutrition. Fast food, prepackaged meals, and constant snacking have become the norm. We eat on the go, eating whatever is quick and easy, rather than choosing foods that truly nourish and sustain us. But the food we put into our bodies plays a critical role in our physical health, mental clarity, and energy levels. Food is not just something we consume to fill our stomachs. It is the fuel that powers our bodies, our minds, and our emotions. To properly nourish your body, you need to start by choosing whole, nutrient-dense foods. This doesn't mean following restrictive diets or obsessing over every calorie you consume. Instead, it's about prioritizing foods that provide the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients your body needs to function at its best. Whole foods, such as fruits, vegetables, whole grains, lean proteins, and healthy fats, are packed with the essential nutrients that support brain function, energy production, immune health, and overall well-being. It's easy to overlook the importance of a balanced diet, especially when we're busy. But when we fail to eat a variety of whole foods, we deprive ourselves of the nutrients that our bodies need to stay healthy and energized. Processed foods, sugary snacks, and empty calories may provide temporary satisfaction, but they leave us feeling sluggish, unfocused, and depleted in the long run. Choosing to nourish your body with real, whole foods is one of the most important forms of self-care. It's an act of respect for your body and a commitment to your health. Another key aspect of nourishing your body is staying hydrated. Water is the most basic, yet essential element for maintaining physical health. Our bodies are made up of around 60% water, and nearly every bodily function, digestion, circulation, temperature regulation, and even cognitive function depends on proper hydration. Yet so many of us fail to drink enough water throughout the day. We substitute water with caffeinated drinks, sugary sodas, or simply forget to hydrate altogether. Drinking enough water each day is essential for maintaining energy levels, focus, and overall well-being. The recommended daily intake of water can vary depending on factors like body weight, activity level, and climate, but a good rule of thumb is to drink at least 8 8-ounce glasses of water each day. Start your morning with a glass of water. Keep a water bottle by your desk or in your bag, and make hydration a part of your daily routine. When you prioritize hydration, you give your body the fuel it needs to function at its best. Equally important is getting enough rest. Sleep is often the most neglected aspect of self-care, especially for people who are busy, stressed, or constantly on the go. We sacrifice sleep to meet deadlines, attend social events, or catch up on other responsibilities. But sleep is not a luxury. It is essential for our physical and mental health. During sleep, our bodies repair and regenerate. Our immune systems strengthen, and our brains process the information from the day. Without sufficient rest, our cognitive function, emotional stability, and overall health begin to deteriorate. To improve your sleep, it's important to create a consistent sleep routine. Aim for 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night, depending on your individual needs. Go to bed and wake up at the same time each day, even on weekends. Create a relaxing pre-sleep routine that helps signal to your body that it's time to unwind, whether that's through reading, meditation, or light stretching. Avoid stimulants like caffeine and heavy meals close to bedtime. When you make sleep a priority, you wake up feeling refreshed, energized, and ready to tackle the day. Movement is another critical element of self-care that often gets overlooked. Our bodies are designed for movement, and regular physical activity has a profound impact on our physical health, energy levels, and emotional well-being. Movement is not just about hitting the gym or following a strict workout routine. It's about finding ways to move your body throughout the day in ways that feel good to you. Whether it's taking a walk, doing yoga, dancing, or lifting weights, the key is to find something that you enjoy and that gets your body moving. Regular physical activity improves circulation, boosts mood, increases energy, and supports mental clarity. It also reduces the risk of chronic conditions like heart disease, diabetes, and obesity. But perhaps most importantly, movement helps to reduce stress. Physical activity releases endorphins, the body's natural feel-good chemicals, which help to improve mood and alleviate anxiety. So, make time for movement in your daily life. Even short bursts of activity can have a profound impact on your health. While food, hydration, rest, and movement are the foundations of physical self-care, it's also important to pay attention to the mental and emotional signals that your body sends you. Our bodies are constantly communicating with us, whether it's through tension in our muscles, headaches, fatigue, or digestive issues. These physical symptoms are often manifestations of stress, anxiety, or emotional overload. When we ignore these signals, we risk physical and emotional burnout. Learning to listen to your body and honor its needs is a vital part of self-care. If you're feeling stressed, take a break and check in with your body. Are you tense? Are you holding stress in your shoulders or jaw? Take a few deep breaths and release the tension. If you're feeling exhausted, don't push yourself to keep going. Take time to rest and recharge. By tuning into your body's signals, you can prevent physical and emotional burnout and give yourself the time and care you need to restore balance. In addition to taking care of your body, it's important to engage in activities that bring you joy. True self-care isn't just about meeting the basic needs of the body. It's about nourishing your soul, too. Take time to do things that make you feel alive, whether that's spending time in nature, engaging in creative hobbies, or simply relaxing with a good book. The activities that bring you joy and fulfillment nourish your spirit and add to your overall well-being. Ultimately, nourishing your body is not a one-time event, it's a lifelong practice. It's about creating habits that allow you to thrive, rather than just survive. When you take the time to nourish your body, you're not just caring for your physical health, you're laying the foundation for a life that is full of energy, clarity, and vitality. By making self-care a priority, you're investing in yourself, your health, your happiness, and your future. In the next chapter, we'll explore the importance of mental self-care, how to protect your emotional well-being, manage stress, and build a mindset that supports your overall health and happiness. You can't separate your mind from your body. They are interconnected, and taking care of your mental health is just as important as taking care of your physical health. Chapter 4. Cultivating Emotional Health, the Heart of Self-Care. When we think about self-care, the first things that often come to mind are physical practices. Eating healthy, exercising, sleeping well. These aspects are undoubtedly important, but one of the most overlooked, yet equally essential, components of self-care is our emotional health. Our emotions shape the way we experience the world, and how we manage and respond to our emotions can significantly impact our overall well-being. Yet, in our fast-paced, high-demand society, emotional health often gets pushed aside. We live in a world where emotions are often seen as something to be managed or hidden, rather than something to be understood and nurtured. But emotional health is the foundation of all true self-care. The term emotional health refers to our ability to recognize, understand, and manage our emotions in a way that supports our well-being. It's about having the tools to cope with life's challenges, navigate relationships, and manage stress in a healthy way. But emotional health isn't something we're born with. It's something we cultivate over time through practice, awareness, and self-compassion. Learning how to process our emotions, respond to them appropriately, and set healthy emotional boundaries is as crucial to self-care as nourishing our bodies and minds. So why does emotional health matter so much in self-care? The answer lies in the deep connection between our emotional state and our overall health. When we experience stress, anxiety, or emotional turmoil, it doesn't just affect how we feel in the moment, it also impacts our physical health. Chronic emotional stress can contribute to conditions like high blood pressure, heart disease, and weakened immune function. On the flip side, when we actively tend to our emotional health, we experience improved physical health, stronger resilience, and better mental clarity. In many ways, emotional health is the glue that holds everything together. Without it, even the best self-care practices can fall short. One of the key aspects of emotional health is emotional awareness, the ability to recognize and acknowledge what we're feeling. So often we push our emotions aside or suppress them, believing that they're a burden or that we should just get over it. This approach, however, can be harmful. When we ignore or deny our emotions, they can build up over time, leading to increased stress, emotional numbness, or even physical illness. The first step in caring for our emotional health is simply to be aware of our emotions, to recognize when we're feeling stressed, sad, anxious, or overwhelmed, and to give ourselves permission to feel those emotions without judgment. This process of emotional awareness involves tuning into the messages our emotions are sending us. Emotions are not random or meaningless. They are indicators of what's happening in our lives. Anger might signal a boundary has been crossed. Sadness could be a sign that we're grieving a loss. And anxiety may indicate that we're feeling uncertain about the future. By paying attention to our emotions, we can better understand what they are trying to tell us. This awareness allows us to respond to our emotions in a healthy way, rather than letting them dictate our actions or overwhelm us. Once we've recognized our emotions, the next step is emotional expression, giving ourselves permission to feel and express our emotions in healthy ways. Emotions are energy in motion, and they need to be released in order to maintain balance. Holding on to anger, sadness, or frustration without expressing them can lead to emotional buildup, which can have harmful effects on our mental and physical health. Expressing emotions doesn't always mean talking about them with others, though that can be helpful. It can also mean expressing them through creative outlets, physical activity, or journaling. The key is to allow ourselves the space to process our emotions rather than bottling them up. While emotional expression is important, it's equally vital to set emotional boundaries. In relationships and daily interactions, it's easy to become overwhelmed by other people's emotions, or to take on emotional baggage that isn't ours to carry. Emotional boundaries are about recognizing where your emotions end and someone else's begin. It's about not absorbing or internalizing the emotions of others and understanding that it's okay to maintain emotional distance when necessary. This could mean stepping away from emotionally draining situations, setting limits on how much emotional energy you give to others, or learning to say no when someone's emotional needs are overwhelming. Another crucial aspect of emotional health is emotional regulation, the ability to manage our emotions in a way that is constructive rather than destructive. We all experience moments of emotional intensity, anger, sadness, frustration, anxiety, but it's how we respond to these emotions that determines their impact on our lives. Emotional regulation is not about suppressing or ignoring emotions. It's about learning how to express them appropriately and finding ways to calm ourselves down when emotions feel overwhelming. One effective strategy for emotional regulation is breathing exercises. When we're upset, our breath becomes shallow and rapid, which can exacerbate feelings of anxiety or stress. By consciously slowing down our breath and engaging in deep breathing exercises, we can activate the body's natural relaxation response. This helps lower heart rate, reduce muscle tension, and bring clarity to our thinking. Deep breathing is a simple but powerful tool for regulating our emotions in the moment, and it's something we can do anytime, anywhere. Another effective technique for emotional regulation is mindfulness. Mindfulness teaches us to observe our emotions without judgment, to notice when we're becoming overwhelmed, and to respond with awareness instead of reaction. Instead of allowing emotions to dictate our actions, mindfulness helps us pause and assess how we want to respond. It teaches us to let go of emotional attachment, to recognize that emotions come and go, and to create space between ourselves and our feelings. This practice allows us to be less reactive and more in control of our emotional responses. One of the most powerful practices for emotional health is self-compassion. In a world that often demands perfection, we can be harsh and critical of ourselves when we experience difficult emotions. We may think, "I shouldn't feel this way," or "I need to get over this," which only compounds our emotional pain. Self-compassion involves treating ourselves with kindness, understanding, and care when we're struggling. It's about acknowledging that everyone experiences pain, difficulty, and emotional challenges, and that it's okay to have those feelings. Instead of criticizing ourselves for feeling a certain way, self-compassion encourages us to offer ourselves the same kindness we would offer to a close friend in a similar situation. Self-compassion also involves forgiving ourselves for our mistakes and imperfections. We're all human, and we all have moments when we fall short of our own expectations or others' expectations. But holding on to guilt or shame only harms our emotional health. Letting go of those feelings and practicing self-forgiveness is a key aspect of nurturing our emotional well-being. Self-compassion frees us from the cycle of self-criticism, allowing us to move forward with greater emotional resilience. Lastly, it's important to cultivate emotional balance. Life is full of ups and downs, and it's normal to experience a range of emotions. However, when we experience extreme highs and lows, or when our emotions become too overwhelming, it can disrupt our mental and physical health. Emotional balance is about learning to ride the waves of emotions without being swept away. It's about allowing yourself to feel emotions without becoming consumed by them. Through mindfulness, emotional regulation, and self-compassion, we can maintain a sense of emotional balance even in the face of life's challenges. When we prioritize emotional health, we create a more balanced and resilient life. Emotional health impacts our relationships, our work, and our sense of fulfillment. By learning to recognize, express, and regulate our emotions, we give ourselves the tools to navigate life with greater ease. Emotional health isn't about suppressing emotions or pretending to be okay when we're not. It's about honoring our feelings, expressing them in healthy ways, and finding ways to heal and grow through them. As we continue our self-care journey, we'll explore more ways to nourish our emotional health, strengthen our resilience, and cultivate a mindset of well-being that supports our mental, emotional, and physical health. In the next chapter, we will delve into the practices that help you build and maintain strong emotional boundaries, the importance of connecting with others, and how to foster healthy relationships that support your emotional health. Chapter 5. Building Resilience. The role of self-care in overcoming life's challenges. Life is full of challenges. At some point, we all face difficulties, be it in our personal lives, careers, relationships, or health. These challenges can come in many forms: the stress of work, the loss of a loved one, health problems, financial struggles, or the overwhelming demands of everyday life. Regardless of the nature of these obstacles, one thing remains constant: how we respond to life's difficulties shapes the trajectory of our well-being. While we cannot always control the events that unfold, we do have control over how we care for ourselves through them. Self-care is not only about pampering ourselves during moments of relaxation or indulgence. In fact, self-care is at its most powerful when we are faced with life's most difficult moments. It is in these times of hardship that the foundation of self-care is put to the test. And it's during these moments that true resilience is born. Resilience is the ability to bounce back from setbacks, to endure hardships, and keep moving forward despite the challenges we face. It is the inner strength that helps us cope with stress, handle adversity, and grow stronger from our experiences. At the heart of resilience is self-care. When we take the time to care for ourselves mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, we build the foundation of strength that allows us to endure life's challenges. Just as we wouldn't expect to run a marathon without preparing and training our bodies, we cannot expect to handle adversity without building emotional, mental, and physical resilience. This chapter will explore how self-care contributes to building resilience, how we can use self-care practices to strengthen our inner resolve, and how we can develop a mindset that supports our ability to bounce back from hardship. Resilience is not something we are born with. It is a skill that we can cultivate over time. It is shaped by our experiences, our coping mechanisms, and the way we care for ourselves. But one of the most powerful ways to build resilience is through self-awareness. When we are aware of our emotional, physical, and mental states, we are better able to recognize when we are becoming overwhelmed, when we need rest, or when we need to take action. Self-awareness helps us identify our limits and acknowledge when we need to step back and recharge, rather than pushing ourselves past our breaking point. An essential aspect of building resilience is developing healthy coping strategies. Life's challenges often trigger difficult emotions such as anger, sadness, fear, or frustration. In the past, we may have used unhealthy coping mechanisms, such as turning to food, alcohol, or avoiding the issue altogether. While these strategies may provide temporary relief, they do not build long-term resilience. In fact, they often contribute to a cycle of stress and emotional exhaustion. The key to building resilience is finding healthier ways to cope with stress, ways that nurture our well-being and help us process our emotions constructively. One of the most powerful tools for coping with stress and adversity is mindfulness meditation. As we've explored in previous chapters, mindfulness allows us to stay present in the moment, observe our thoughts and feelings without judgment, and create space between ourselves and our emotions. This space enables us to respond thoughtfully to stressors rather than reacting impulsively or being overwhelmed by our emotions. Mindfulness also helps to reduce anxiety, promote emotional regulation, and improve overall mental health. By incorporating mindfulness into our daily lives, we build the mental resilience needed to face life's challenges with clarity and calm. Another effective coping strategy is journaling. Writing down our thoughts, feelings, and experiences provides an outlet for emotional expression and can help us process difficult emotions. Journaling allows us to reflect on our struggles, gain perspective on our challenges, and identify solutions or insights that we might not have noticed before. It's a form of self-care that helps us connect with ourselves and release the emotional tension that can build up over time. By regularly journaling, we create a space for self-reflection and emotional release, which contributes to emotional resilience and mental clarity. In addition to mindfulness and journaling, physical activity is an important part of building resilience. Exercise is not only good for our physical health, but also for our mental well-being. Physical activity helps to reduce stress, improve mood, and boost energy levels. When we exercise, our bodies release endorphins, the feel-good chemicals that help us feel more positive and relaxed. Exercise also helps us release built-up tension and anxiety, providing a much-needed break from the demands of daily life. Engaging in regular physical activity is one of the most effective ways to manage stress and improve our overall sense of well-being. But physical self-care is not just about exercise. It's also about nourishing our bodies with proper nutrition. The food we eat directly impacts our mood, energy levels, and ability to cope with stress. A diet rich in whole foods, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and lean proteins provides the nutrients our bodies need to function optimally. When we eat well, we feel better physically, which in turn supports our emotional and mental resilience. On the other hand, poor nutrition, especially diets high in processed foods and sugars, can contribute to fatigue, mood swings, and stress. Building resilience through self-care involves making intentional choices about what we put into our bodies and recognizing that food is fuel for both our bodies and minds. Another important element of resilience is developing a support system. Resilience doesn't mean doing everything on our own. In fact, one of the key components of resilience is connection, the ability to lean on others when we need support. No one can face life's challenges alone, and having a strong support system in place is essential for emotional resilience. This support can come from family, friends, mentors, or even professional counselors. Surrounding yourself with people who understand, support, and uplift you helps build the emotional strength needed to navigate difficult times. Resilience is not about being invincible. It's about knowing when to reach out for help and allowing others to support you in your journey. Building resilience also involves embracing failure. Life's challenges are inevitable, and setbacks are a natural part of the process. How we respond to failure determines our ability to recover and keep moving forward. Instead of viewing failure as something to be feared or avoided, we must learn to embrace it as an opportunity for growth. Failure teaches us valuable lessons, helps us refine our strategies, and makes us more adaptable. Resilient people don't let failure define them. They use it as a stepping stone to greater strength and success. Through the practice of self-care, we can develop the mindset that failure is not the end of the road, but an essential part of the journey. Finally, self-compassion is a crucial element of building resilience. In times of difficulty, we often become our own harshest critics. We judge ourselves for not being strong enough or resilient enough to handle the challenges we face, but this self-criticism only adds to the emotional burden and makes it harder to recover from setbacks. Self-compassion is about treating yourself with kindness and understanding, especially when things don't go as planned. It's about acknowledging that everyone faces difficulties and that it's okay to struggle. When you approach challenges with self-compassion, you allow yourself the grace to heal and grow, rather than adding to your stress and frustration. As we cultivate these self-care practices, mindfulness, journaling, physical activity, nutrition, emotional support, and self-compassion, we build a resilience necessary to face life's challenges with strength and grace. Resilience is not a trait we are born with. It is something we can develop through consistent effort and the intentional practice of self-care. The more we prioritize our well-being, the more resilient we become, and the more capable we are of handling whatever life throws our way. In the next chapter, we will explore how to create a sustainable self-care routine that supports your resilience and overall well-being. We will dive into practical strategies for making self-care a part of your everyday life, even when time and energy are limited. With a solid routine in place, you'll be able to maintain your emotional health, physical well-being, and mental clarity, no matter what challenges arise. Chapter 6. The Power of Mindfulness. Embracing the present moment. In the midst of the constant noise of life, it can feel like the present moment is always slipping through our fingers. The pressures of work, relationships, and the demands of daily responsibilities can easily pull our attention away from the here and now. We spend our days multitasking, rushing from one task to the next, often without taking the time to truly be present in any of it. This constant state of distraction has become the norm for many of us. But what if the key to true self-care, focus, and emotional well-being lies in mindfulness, the ability to fully embrace the present moment without judgment or distraction? Mindfulness is the practice of paying full attention to what is happening in the present moment, without getting lost in thoughts about the past or future. It's about tuning into your experiences with a sense of openness, awareness, and curiosity. This practice has its roots in ancient meditation traditions, but it has gained widespread popularity in recent years for its profound benefits on mental, emotional, and physical health. When we talk about mindfulness, we're not just talking about sitting in a quiet room and meditating for hours. Mindfulness is something that can be practiced in any moment, throughout the day. It's about being fully present with whatever you're doing, whether that's working, eating, talking with a friend, or simply sitting in silence. Mindfulness is about slowing down and paying attention, without judgment or rushing through the experience. One of the core principles of mindfulness is the idea of awareness. Our minds are constantly moving, jumping from one thought to the next, and this constant mental chatter can make it difficult to focus, relax, or find peace. In mindfulness, we learn to anchor ourselves in the present moment, to notice what is happening around us and within us, without getting caught up in it. We become observers of our thoughts, emotions, and sensations, instead of becoming consumed by them. For example, when you're sitting at your desk working, instead of allowing your mind to wander to your to-do list, you bring your attention back to the task at hand. You notice the feeling of your fingers on the keyboard, the sound of your breath, and the rhythm of your thoughts as they flow. When your mind inevitably drifts, you gently bring it back to the present, without criticism or frustration. This practice trains your mind to stay focused on the task at hand rather than being pulled away by distractions. The power of mindfulness lies in its ability to help us manage stress and cultivate emotional balance. In our modern world, stress is often seen as something to be avoided or eliminated entirely. We may try to distract ourselves from stress through various coping mechanisms, such as binge-watching TV, scrolling through social media, or overeating. But mindfulness teaches us to approach stress not as something to be avoided, but as something to be acknowledged and processed. By practicing mindfulness, we learn to be with our stress without letting it overwhelm us. Mindfulness allows us to observe our stress with greater objectivity without letting it consume us. When we experience stress, we often get caught up in the story we tell ourselves about the situation. I can't handle this. This is too much. I'm going to fail. These thoughts create a cycle of worry and anxiety, making the situation seem worse than it really is. Mindfulness teaches us to notice these thoughts without identifying with them. We can observe the thoughts and the physical sensations of stress without becoming wrapped up in the emotional reactions they trigger. This process of observing without judgment is a key aspect of mindfulness. When we are mindful, we approach our experiences with an attitude of curiosity and acceptance, rather than trying to change or control them. Instead of judging ourselves for feeling stressed or anxious, we simply notice these feelings and allow them to pass through us. Over time, this practice of non-judgmental awareness helps us develop greater emotional resilience, because we no longer become attached to our emotions or thoughts. They become temporary visitors rather than permanent fixtures. Mindfulness also has a profound effect on our physical health. Research has shown that mindfulness can help reduce the physical symptoms of stress, such as high blood pressure, muscle tension, and chronic pain. By learning to relax and focus our attention, we activate the body's natural relaxation response, which helps counteract the effects of stress. When we are mindful, we also become more attuned to our bodies, whether it's noticing when we're hungry, when we're tired, or when we're experiencing physical discomfort. This awareness allows us to respond to our body's needs in real time rather than ignoring or suppressing them. But mindfulness isn't just about managing stress or improving physical health. It's also about improving our relationships. When we practice mindfulness in our interactions with others, we become more present and attentive. Instead of mentally checking out during conversations, we fully engage with the person in front of us. We listen deeply without preparing our response while the other person is speaking. We notice the nonverbal cues, the tone of voice, the body language, the subtle emotions that often go unnoticed in our fast-paced, distracted world. Mindful listening creates a deeper connection with others because we are giving them our full attention without distractions. It shows respect, empathy, and care. When we practice mindful listening, we create space for others to feel heard and understood. This leads to more meaningful conversations and stronger relationships. Mindfulness also helps us respond thoughtfully in situations, rather than reacting impulsively. We are better able to pause, reflect, and choose how we want to respond, rather than letting our emotions drive our behavior. Mindfulness is not only about being present during our interactions with others, it's also about being present with ourselves. Self-compassion is a central element of mindfulness. Often we are our own harshest critics. We beat ourselves up for mistakes, dwell on past failures, and constantly strive for perfection. Mindfulness helps us cultivate a gentler, more compassionate relationship with ourselves. When we make a mistake or face a setback, instead of criticizing ourselves, we observe our thoughts and feelings with kindness. We acknowledge that we are human and that mistakes are part of the learning process. Mindfulness teaches us to be kind to ourselves, to treat ourselves with the same care and compassion that we would offer to a friend. It's about allowing ourselves to be imperfect, to make mistakes, and to learn from them without shame or judgment. By practicing self-compassion, we create the emotional foundation for true well-being because we are no longer weighed down by guilt, shame, or self-criticism. One of the greatest benefits of mindfulness is its ability to improve mental clarity and decision-making. When we are overwhelmed by stress, distractions, or emotional turmoil, it becomes difficult to think clearly or make informed decisions. Our minds become cluttered with worries, doubts, and what-ifs, making it hard to focus on what's right in front of us. Mindfulness allows us to clear away this mental clutter and make decisions from a place of clarity and calm. By cultivating mindfulness, we develop the mental space to see things more clearly, to evaluate situations objectively, and to respond with greater insight and understanding. Mindfulness also helps us build a deeper sense of gratitude. When we are mindful, we are more likely to notice the small moments of beauty, joy, and connection in our daily lives. We begin to appreciate the present moment for what it is, rather than constantly waiting for the next thing. This practice of noticing and appreciating life as it unfolds can lead to greater happiness, fulfillment, and contentment. But perhaps the most powerful aspect of mindfulness is its ability to help us develop a sense of peace, a peace that comes from within. When we are mindful, we are no longer at war with our thoughts, our emotions, or the world around us. We accept things as they are, without trying to control or manipulate them. This acceptance brings a deep sense of inner calm and equanimity, no matter what is happening externally. Mindfulness allows us to let go of the constant striving, the need to be somewhere else, and the desire for things to be different. It teaches us to be at peace with the present moment, just as it is. Incorporating mindfulness into your life doesn't require a complete overhaul of your routine. It's about bringing awareness to the everyday moments. Whether it's in the way you eat, work, interact with others, or move through your day, mindfulness is about being present with what is happening right now. It's about slowing down and paying attention, rather than rushing through life or letting distractions pull you away. Over time, mindfulness becomes a habit, and the benefits of this practice ripple out into every aspect of your life, leading to greater focus, peace, and well-being. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to integrate mindfulness practices into your daily life in a practical and sustainable way. Whether you're new to mindfulness or have been practicing for years, we'll dive into actionable strategies that can help you stay present, cultivate clarity, and bring mindfulness into every moment of your day. Chapter 7. The Power of Emotional Resilience in Self-Care. Life will inevitably bring us challenges. Sometimes they are small missed appointments, fleeting arguments, or temporary setbacks. Other times they are monumental loss, illness, or major life transitions. Regardless of the size of the challenge, the ability to navigate through life's difficulties with emotional resilience is one of the most powerful forms of self-care you can develop. Emotional resilience refers to the capacity to adapt to difficult situations and bounce back from adversity. It's the ability to maintain emotional balance even when life feels chaotic or overwhelming. Resilience doesn't mean that we are immune to pain, stress, or hardship. Rather, it's our ability to manage our emotions in those moments and to regain our footing, learning and growing from the experience rather than being defeated by it. Resilience is deeply connected to self-care because how we respond to challenges shapes our long-term well-being. When we practice resilience, we don't just cope with adversity, we grow stronger from it. And the more we nurture our emotional resilience, the better equipped we are to face future challenges with strength, clarity, and confidence. However, developing emotional resilience is not an overnight process. Like all aspects of self-care, it takes time, practice, and intentionality. It requires cultivating habits and mindsets that allow us to adapt to and learn from difficult situations. Just as we care for our physical bodies by nourishing them with good food, rest, and movement, we must also nourish our emotional health with practices that build resilience over time. One of the key components of emotional resilience is emotional awareness, the ability to recognize and understand your feelings. When we are emotionally aware, we can more effectively process and manage our emotions rather than being overwhelmed by them. This means acknowledging your feelings when they arise, whether they are feelings of sadness, anger, fear, or frustration, and giving yourself permission to feel them without judgment. Emotional awareness is the first step in building resilience because it allows us to respond to our emotions instead of reacting impulsively. Too often, when we are faced with difficult emotions, we either suppress them or act on them without thinking. We may avoid feeling uncomfortable emotions, stuffing them down until they manifest in unhealthy ways, or we may react immediately without considering the consequences. But when we practice emotional awareness, we give ourselves space to observe our emotions and choose a response that supports our well-being. For example, when you're feeling angry, instead of lashing out, emotional awareness allows you to recognize that anger, understand its underlying causes, and give yourself permission to take a pause. This space between feeling and reacting gives you the chance to process your emotions and make a conscious decision about how to respond. Emotional resilience is about slowing down in moments of emotional intensity, allowing yourself to feel and process without rushing to react. This act of pausing and observing can prevent emotional overwhelm and reduce the likelihood of negative reactions that you may later regret. Another important aspect of emotional resilience is self-compassion. When faced with hardship, we often become our own harshest critics. We may berate ourselves for not handling things better, for being too sensitive, or for not living up to our own expectations. But self-compassion teaches us to respond to ourselves with kindness and understanding, especially when things go wrong. Instead of criticizing ourselves for struggling, self-compassion reminds us that we are human, that setbacks are part of the process, and that we deserve to treat ourselves with care and respect. Self-compassion is essential for emotional resilience because it allows us to bounce back from difficulties without being weighed down by shame or self-criticism. When we practice self-compassion, we create an environment in which we can learn from challenges without being defeated by them. We give ourselves permission to experience difficult emotions without judgment, and we recognize that our imperfections and struggles are what make us resilient. The more we treat ourselves with kindness, the more emotionally resilient we become. An important part of building emotional resilience is learning how to reframe challenges. The way we view difficulties can have a profound impact on how we respond to them. Often we approach challenges with a sense of defeat, thinking that we are helpless in the face of adversity. But reframing challenges, looking at them from a different perspective, can help us feel empowered. Instead of seeing a setback as a failure, we can choose to view it as an opportunity for growth. Instead of seeing stress as something that will break us, we can see it as something that strengthens our resilience. This shift in perspective doesn't mean ignoring the difficulties we face or pretending they don't matter. It means recognizing that challenges are part of life and that we have the ability to handle them. Resilience isn't about avoiding hardship. It's about facing it head-on, learning from it, and growing stronger in the process. When we reframe challenges in this way, we take control of our emotional responses and open ourselves up to the possibility of growth and change. An important practice that helps us build emotional resilience is mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully present in the moment, paying attention to what's happening right now without judgment. In moments of stress, mindfulness can be incredibly powerful because it helps us create space between our emotions and our reactions. When we're mindful, we notice our emotional triggers, but we don't become consumed by them. Instead, we observe them with curiosity and allow them to pass without judgment. Mindfulness helps us cultivate mental clarity, allowing us to see challenges more clearly and respond to them with greater awareness. Instead of reacting out of habit or emotion, we can pause, reflect, and choose our response thoughtfully. When we practice mindfulness regularly, we strengthen our ability to stay calm and centered, even in the midst of chaos. Mindfulness is a tool that can help us stay resilient in the face of stress, adversity, and difficult emotions. Another key component of emotional resilience is emotional regulation. Emotional regulation is the ability to manage our emotions in a healthy way, especially in the face of stress or adversity. It's about finding ways to calm ourselves when we feel overwhelmed, to release tension when we feel anxious, and to process emotions in a way that doesn't negatively impact our well-being. Emotional regulation can be developed through mindfulness, breathing exercises, physical activity, and other stress reduction techniques. One of the most effective tools for emotional regulation is deep breathing. When we're stressed, our bodies enter a state of heightened arousal, and our breath becomes shallow and rapid. By practicing deep, slow breathing, we activate the body's relaxation response, which helps to reduce the physical symptoms of stress, such as a racing heart and tight muscles. Deep breathing also calms the mind, allowing us to regain our focus and emotional balance. Whenever you feel overwhelmed, taking a few deep breaths can help you reset and regain a sense of control. Physical activity is another powerful tool for building emotional resilience. Exercise not only improves physical health, but also plays a significant role in managing stress and improving mood. When we exercise, our bodies release endorphins, chemicals that boost our mood and reduce feelings of anxiety and depression. Physical activity helps to release the tension that builds up during stressful situations, allowing us to process emotions in a healthy way. Whether it's a quick walk, a workout, or yoga, movement helps us release pent-up emotions and build resilience against stress. It's also important to recognize that support systems play a critical role in emotional resilience. Resilience doesn't mean doing everything alone. It means having the strength to reach out when you need help. Building and maintaining strong relationships with friends, family, or mentors can provide emotional support and offer perspective during difficult times. Talking to someone you trust can help you process your emotions and gain insight into your situation. Support systems offer comfort, encouragement, and validation, helping us feel less alone when we face challenges. Emotional resilience is about learning to cope with adversity in healthy ways, not by avoiding or suppressing emotions, but by processing them in a manner that allows us to grow and learn. Building resilience takes time and practice, but it's a lifelong process that makes us better equipped to handle whatever life throws our way. In the next chapter, we will explore how to develop sustainable self-care routines that not only support your emotional resilience, but also help you create a balanced and fulfilling life. By integrating small self-care practices into your daily routine, you can build lasting resilience that will carry you through life's inevitable challenges. Chapter 8. Finding Balance Through Self-Care. How to Align Your Life. In a world where the pressures of work, family, and personal ambition seem endless, achieving balance can often feel like a distant dream. We are constantly juggling multiple roles, managing deadlines, and meeting expectations, all while trying to maintain some semblance of personal well-being. Many people are exhausted by the relentless demands of life, but they push through because they feel like they have no other choice. This is where self-care can truly transform the way we approach life. Self-care is not just about relaxing when you're overwhelmed or indulging in temporary pleasures. It's about cultivating balance, creating harmony between different aspects of your life, and learning how to care for yourself consistently, even amidst life's chaos. True balance doesn't mean perfect equilibrium, where everything is always in harmony. Instead, it means learning to prioritize your well-being and align your actions with your values and goals so that you can move through life with purpose, clarity, and energy. When we talk about balance in self-care, we are not referring to the idea of dividing our time equally between work, family, social obligations, and personal care. True balance is about aligning our priorities with our core values and taking intentional actions to nourish ourselves physically, mentally, and emotionally. It's about making conscious choices to ensure that we are meeting our needs in a way that supports our overall health and happiness. And yes, it requires effort, practice, and self-awareness, but the rewards are worth it. Balance often feels elusive because we live in a culture that values productivity over well-being. We are taught that success is defined by how much we can accomplish, how quickly we can move through our to-do lists, and how much we can give to others. This mindset leaves little room for rest, reflection, or self-compassion. In fact, many people are so busy trying to meet the demands of others that they neglect their own needs. They sacrifice their mental and physical health in the name of productivity, believing that they don't have time for self-care. However, the reality is that neglecting self-care doesn't lead to more productivity or success. It leads to burnout, exhaustion, and diminished performance. When we don't make time for rest, nourishment, and emotional well-being, we can't function at our best. Our creativity wanes, our focus diminishes, and our ability to handle stress decreases. In order to be our best selves and show up for the people and things that matter most, we must first prioritize our own health and well-being. Achieving balance in self-care starts with the understanding that balance is not a fixed state, it is dynamic. Life is constantly changing, and there will be times when work demands more of our attention, when our relationships require emotional energy, or when we need to focus on personal growth. Balance, therefore, is about flexibility, about knowing when to adjust, when to give yourself space, and when to take action. It's about recognizing that life is not always going to be perfectly balanced, and that there will be seasons of intense activity followed by moments of rest and recovery. A key part of finding balance in self-care is learning to prioritize. In a world full of competing demands, it's easy to feel like we need to be everything to everyone. We say yes to every invitation, every request, every task, and as a result, we end up feeling stretched too thin. To create balance, we must learn to say no when necessary and recognize that our time and energy are limited resources. Prioritization means identifying what truly matters to us and focusing our time and energy on those things, while letting go of activities that drain us or are not aligned with our goals and values. One of the most powerful tools for achieving balance is time management. Time management isn't just about getting more done, it's about intentionally creating space for the things that matter most, including self-care. Many of us feel like there's never enough time in the day to take care of ourselves. But the truth is, we all have the same 24 hours, and the way we choose to spend them determines our sense of balance. Time management is about making intentional choices about how you spend your time and allocating time each day for rest, exercise, nourishing meals, and mental health activities like meditation or journaling. One of the simplest ways to start managing your time more effectively is by creating a daily routine that includes time for self-care. Having a routine doesn't mean being rigid. It simply means having a plan for your day that supports your well-being. For example, if you wake up each morning with a specific routine that includes hydration, movement, meditation, and a nourishing breakfast, you're setting yourself up for success. You're prioritizing your well-being before diving into the demands of the day. When you make self-care a part of your routine, you're less likely to skip it or push it aside when things get busy. The more you create space for self-care, the more natural it becomes to include it in your daily life. Creating a balanced routine also means setting boundaries around your time. Boundaries are essential for ensuring that you don't overcommit yourself and that you have the time and energy you need to care for yourself. This could mean setting limits on how much time you spend on work or social media, ensuring that you have uninterrupted time for self-care, and saying no to commitments that don't align with your priorities. When you set boundaries, you take control of your time and energy rather than letting others dictate how you spend them. Rest and recovery are crucial components of achieving balance. Our bodies and minds need time to recharge in order to function at their best. This means making sleep a priority, taking breaks throughout the day, and recognizing when you need to step back and give yourself some downtime. Many people are reluctant to take breaks because they feel like they should always be doing something. But rest is not a luxury. It is essential for our well-being. Adequate rest improves cognitive function, boosts creativity, strengthens the immune system, and enhances emotional regulation. Without rest, we can't operate at our fullest potential. Rest doesn't just mean sleep, though. It also means taking intentional breaks throughout the day, whether it's a short walk outside, a few minutes of deep breathing, or simply stepping away from your work for a moment of quiet. Breaks help us reset and recharge. Taking breaks improves focus, reduces stress, and allows us to approach tasks with a fresh perspective. Incorporating regular breaks into your routine ensures that you maintain the energy and clarity needed to stay balanced throughout the day. Another important aspect of balance is nourishing your body with healthy foods. When we are busy and stressed, it's easy to skip meals or grab whatever is convenient. But this often leaves us feeling sluggish, depleted, and irritable. Proper nutrition fuels our bodies, helps maintain energy levels, and supports mental clarity. When we eat a balanced diet rich in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, lean proteins, and healthy fats, we feel better physically and mentally. Nourishing foods help regulate blood sugar, reduce inflammation, and support cognitive function, giving us the energy and focus needed to handle life's demands. Physical movement is another crucial element of balance. Regular exercise helps reduce stress, improves mood, and boosts energy levels. But movement doesn't have to mean intense workouts or hitting the gym. It can be as simple as stretching, walking, dancing, or practicing yoga. The key is to find an activity that you enjoy and that fits into your daily routine. When movement becomes a regular part of your day, it helps you release tension, improve circulation, and maintain a healthy weight, all of which contribute to a greater sense of balance. Finally, balance is about emotional health. Managing your emotions and finding ways to release stress is essential for maintaining balance in your life. Mindfulness practices such as meditation, journaling, and deep breathing can help you manage your emotional health by promoting relaxation and emotional clarity. Taking time to reflect on your feelings and release pent-up emotions allows you to move through life with greater calmness and ease. Creating balance is a continuous process. Life is always changing, and there will be times when your focus shifts from one area to another. But when you build a foundation of self-care, you have the tools to recalibrate and return to balance. Balance doesn't mean perfection. It means being able to adapt to the changes that life brings while still prioritizing your well-being. In the next chapter, we will explore how to develop a sustainable self-care routine that can keep you grounded even when life gets overwhelming. We'll dive deeper into creating habits that support your physical, emotional, and mental well-being, so you can thrive in every area of your life, no matter what challenges arise. Chapter 9. The importance of building healthy relationships in self-care. Self-care is often thought of as a personal journey, an individual practice that centers around taking care of our own well-being. But the truth is that our relationships play an essential role in our self-care. Our interactions with others, whether family, friends, colleagues, or romantic partners, have a profound impact on our mental, emotional, and physical health. Healthy relationships are an integral part of a fulfilling and balanced life, yet they are often neglected in our pursuit of individual wellness. In this chapter, we'll explore why building and maintaining healthy relationships is a crucial component of self-care, and how investing in our connections with others contributes to our overall well-being. At the heart of self-care lies connection. We are social creatures by nature, and our relationships with others provide us with emotional support, companionship, and a sense of belonging. Strong, positive relationships can lift us up during difficult times, encourage our personal growth, and help us find joy and meaning in life. On the other hand, unhealthy or toxic relationships can drain us emotionally, create stress, and contribute to feelings of loneliness, anxiety, and depression. Just as we take care of our bodies and minds through self-care practices, it is equally important to cultivate relationships that nourish and support us. The first step in building healthy relationships is self-awareness. To form and maintain meaningful connections with others, we must first understand ourselves, our values, our needs, and our boundaries. Healthy relationships are based on mutual respect, trust, and understanding, and these qualities start with knowing what we need in a relationship and being clear about what we can offer. Self-awareness allows us to identify the type of people we want in our lives and the kind of relationships we want to build. It helps us determine whether our existing relationships align with our values and if they are nurturing or draining us. One of the most important aspects of self-awareness in relationships is understanding our emotional needs. We all have different needs when it comes to emotional connection. Some of us need regular affirmation and reassurance, while others may value personal space and independence. Understanding your emotional needs is key to communicating with others about what you require from a relationship. It allows you to build connections that are authentic and fulfilling, rather than relationships that are based on unspoken expectations or emotional imbalance. Once we have an understanding of our emotional needs, the next step is learning how to set healthy boundaries in relationships. Boundaries are an essential aspect of self-care because they help us protect our time, energy, and emotions. Setting boundaries allows us to maintain a sense of autonomy in our relationships and ensures that we are not overextending ourselves or sacrificing our well-being for others. Healthy boundaries are not about building walls or shutting others out. They are about creating space for mutual respect and balance. Boundaries in relationships can take many forms. They may involve setting limits on how much emotional energy we give to others, choosing when and how to engage with certain people, or defining the amount of time we are willing to spend with others. Boundaries may also involve communicating our expectations in relationships, whether it's about the level of communication, the amount of time spent together, or the types of behaviors we are willing to tolerate. Setting clear boundaries allows us to prioritize our needs without feeling guilty, ensuring that our relationships are healthy, balanced, and supportive. An important part of building healthy relationships is learning to communicate effectively. Communication is the foundation of any strong relationship, and the ability to express ourselves honestly, openly, and respectfully is crucial to maintaining emotional connection and trust. Effective communication involves both speaking and listening. It's about being able to express our thoughts and feelings clearly, while also being receptive to the thoughts and feelings of others. Active listening is a key aspect of effective communication. It's about truly hearing what the other person is saying without interrupting or immediately formulating a response. Listening attentively and with empathy fosters a sense of understanding and connection, which strengthens the relationship. Another essential aspect of healthy relationships is mutual respect. Respect means honoring the other person's boundaries, needs, and feelings, and treating them with kindness and consideration. It's important to recognize that respect is a two-way street. It's not just about what we expect from others, but also about how we treat them. In a healthy relationship, both parties feel valued, appreciated, and heard. Respect is foundational to trust, and without trust, a relationship cannot thrive. When respect is present, we can navigate disagreements or difficult conversations in a healthy way without resorting to hurtful behaviors or manipulation. Trust is, of course, another cornerstone of healthy relationships. Trust is built over time through consistent, reliable actions. It involves being honest, transparent, and dependable, and demonstrating that we have the other person's best interests at heart. Trust is fragile. It can take years to build, but it can be broken in an instant. One of the best ways to cultivate trust is through vulnerability. When we are open and authentic with others, we create an environment where trust can flourish. Vulnerability allows us to share our fears, insecurities, and aspirations without fear of judgment, creating deeper emotional intimacy and connection. While building healthy relationships requires emotional effort, it is also important to recognize that not all relationships are meant to last. Sometimes, we must acknowledge that a relationship is no longer serving our well-being. Whether it's a friendship, a romantic relationship, or a family dynamic, we must be willing to let go of relationships that are toxic, unbalanced, or harmful to our mental and emotional health. This can be an incredibly difficult process, especially if we've invested a lot of time or energy into the relationship. However, staying in relationships that drain us or make us feel unsupported can ultimately lead to emotional burnout, resentment, and unhappiness. Letting go of a relationship does not mean that we are rejecting the other person. It means that we are honoring our own needs and prioritizing our well-being. Ending a toxic relationship can be a form of self-care, allowing us to create space for relationships that are nurturing, supportive, and aligned with our values. Whether it's setting boundaries, taking a break, or walking away entirely, the ability to let go of unhealthy relationships is an important aspect of self-care. In addition to letting go of toxic relationships, it's also important to nurture and invest in relationships that support our well-being. We all have relationships that add value to our lives, whether it's with a close friend, a family member, or a romantic partner. These relationships deserve our attention, care, and time. Just as we invest in self-care practices for our own well-being, we must also invest in the relationships that bring us joy, support, and love. Building and maintaining healthy relationships requires effort and intention. It means showing up for the people we care about, being present in our interactions, and nurturing emotional intimacy. It also means creating space for open communication, understanding, and growth. Healthy relationships are not perfect. They require work, compromise, and occasional conflict resolution, but they are worth the effort as they contribute significantly to our overall sense of happiness and fulfillment. In the next chapter, we will explore how to maintain a sustainable self-care routine that takes into account the relationships in our lives, ensuring that we prioritize both our own needs and the needs of others. We will also discuss how to balance self-care with caregiving roles, such as being a parent, partner, or friend, and how to create boundaries that allow us to care for ourselves while caring for others. Chapter 10. Sustainable Self-Care. Creating a long-term practice. Self-care is not a one-time fix or a temporary escape. It is a lifelong commitment to ourselves, a practice that requires patience, consistency, and deep respect for our needs. Many of us approach self-care like a luxury, something we turn to when we are overwhelmed or burned out. While it's true that self-care can offer relief during challenging times, it is most powerful when it becomes part of our everyday life, a routine that supports our overall well-being, nurtures us through the ups and downs, and builds resilience in the face of life's inevitable challenges. Building a sustainable self-care routine is the key to creating a balanced life. It is about integrating practices that nourish your body, mind, and soul into your daily life, so that you can feel grounded, focused, and energized every day. When self-care becomes a regular part of your routine, you don't just rely on it for temporary relief. You begin to thrive. Your physical health improves, your emotional well-being strengthens, and your ability to cope with stress and adversity increases. The first step in creating a sustainable self-care routine is to start small. It's easy to get overwhelmed by the idea of building a complex self-care routine. We live in a world where we are constantly bombarded with advice about the perfect self-care rituals, long baths, extensive skincare regimens, hour-long workouts, and mindfulness practices. While these practices can be beneficial, The idea of doing everything all at once can be paralyzing. The truth is, a sustainable self-care routine doesn't require a long list of activities or a rigid schedule. It's about finding what works for you and starting with simple, manageable steps. Begin by identifying the practices that resonate most with you. Do you feel more energized after a morning walk? Does journaling help clear your mind? Do you find peace in a few minutes of deep breathing or meditation? The beauty of self-care is that it is highly personal. There is no one-size-fits-all approach. What nourishes you may look different from what nourishes someone else. Take time to experiment and find out what makes you feel most calm, rejuvenated, and centered. Once you have identified the self-care practices that work for you, the next step is to build them into your daily routine. This is where consistency becomes key. It's not about doing everything perfectly or committing to an extensive ritual every day. It's about making self-care a priority and finding moments throughout your day to care for yourself. You might start with just 5 minutes of mindfulness in the morning, a 10-minute walk after lunch, or a brief evening routine of stretching and deep breathing. Over time, these small practices will build into a habit, and you'll begin to notice the cumulative effects on your mental, emotional, and physical health. Another important element of building a sustainable self-care routine is flexibility. Life is unpredictable, and there will be times when your routine gets disrupted. When work demands your attention, when you're dealing with a personal crisis, or when other responsibilities take precedence. When this happens, it's important not to get discouraged or give up on your self-care altogether. A sustainable self-care routine is about finding balance and adjusting when necessary. If you miss a morning meditation or don't have time for your usual workout, that's okay. Instead of viewing these interruptions as failures, see them as opportunities to practice self-compassion. Being flexible with your routine allows you to stay committed to your well-being without feeling guilty when things don't go as planned. Creating space for self-care also means learning to say no to things that drain you. A major obstacle to building a sustainable self-care routine is overcommitting. Many of us have a tendency to say yes to everything, whether it's work requests, social obligations, or family demands, because we want to please others or avoid confrontation. However, saying yes to everything means saying no to our own well-being. A sustainable self-care practice requires us to recognize when our plate is full and when it's time to set limits. Saying no is not selfish, it's an act of self-respect. It means honoring your own needs and creating space for the things that truly nourish you. To ensure that your self-care routine is sustainable, it's also important to set realistic goals. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that we need to radically overhaul our lives to take better care of ourselves. However, trying to make drastic changes all at once can feel overwhelming and unrealistic. Instead, start with small, achievable goals that you can build on over time. For example, if you're not used to exercising regularly, aim to walk for 10 minutes a day rather than committing to a 60-minute workout right away. Once that becomes part of your routine, you can gradually increase the intensity or duration. By setting realistic goals and building gradually, you create a routine that is easier to stick with and more sustainable in the long run. Another essential aspect of a sustainable self-care routine is accountability. It's easy to let self-care slide when we don't have someone or something to keep us accountable. Whether it's a friend who checks in on your progress, a self-care journal where you track your daily habits, or an app that reminds you to take breaks, accountability helps reinforce your commitment to your well-being. Having someone to share your self-care goals with, or simply having a system in place to remind you to take time for yourself, makes it easier to stay on track. Accountability provides motivation and helps ensure that self-care remains a priority, even when life gets busy. In addition to daily practices, self-care routines should also evolve over time. As we grow and change, so too do our needs. What worked for us a year ago may not be what serves us best today. The key to long-term self-care is to remain open to evolving your routine as needed. Check in with yourself regularly. Are you feeling energized, balanced, and emotionally fulfilled? Are there areas of your life that need more attention or care? Is there something new you want to try to support your well-being? By consistently evaluating and adjusting your self-care routine, you ensure that it continues to serve your changing needs. A critical component of sustainable self-care is also embracing rest. In our culture of constant busyness and productivity, it's easy to overlook the importance of rest. We often feel that we need to be doing something all the time, whether it's working, socializing, or even exercising. But rest is an essential part of self-care. It's not just about taking naps or sleeping at night. Rest is about allowing our bodies and minds to recharge. This could mean taking a break from work to relax, disconnecting from technology to read or meditate, or simply taking a moment to breathe deeply and ground yourself. The more we embrace rest as part of our self-care routine, the better equipped we are to handle the demands of life with clarity and energy. Ultimately, the key to a sustainable self-care routine is balance. Self-care isn't about doing everything perfectly. It's about finding a routine that works for you, supports your well-being, and fits into your life in a way that feels sustainable. The practice of self-care is dynamic. It's something you create, nurture, and adjust as you go. It's not about perfection. It's about consistency, flexibility, and patience with yourself. As long as you are taking the time to care for yourself, even in small ways, you are building a foundation that supports your mental, emotional, and physical health. In the next chapter, we will explore how to make self-care a lifelong commitment, one that evolves and adapts to your life's circumstances. We will dive into how to maintain your self-care routine when life gets challenging, and how to continue prioritizing your well-being throughout all stages of life. With the right mindset and practices, self-care can become an integral part of who you are, enabling you to live a life of balance, clarity, and resilience. Closing chapter: the lifelong journey of self-care. As we've journeyed through the practice of self-care, we've learned that it's not merely an act of pampering, nor is it an occasional indulgence reserved for moments of overwhelm. True self-care is about building a life that honors and nurtures all aspects of who we are. It's about carving out intentional space in our lives to listen to our needs, respect our boundaries, and prioritize our well-being. Not just when we're exhausted or burned out, but every single day. Through each chapter, we've explored the various components of self-care: physical nourishment, emotional resilience, mindfulness, building healthy relationships, and maintaining balance. These elements, when woven together, create a strong, unshakable foundation for a life of health, happiness, and fulfillment. Self-care is a lifelong journey, not a destination, and it's a practice that evolves with us as we grow, change, and navigate life's inevitable challenges. The most important thing to remember about self-care is that it's a commitment to yourself. It's an acknowledgement that you are worthy of taking care of, that your health, happiness, and well-being are priorities. This journey starts with small steps, simple actions, and intentional choices that add up over time, but it requires ongoing effort. Just as we don't expect to build physical strength or learn a new skill overnight, we can't expect our self-care practice to be perfect or instantaneous. But if we stay committed, if we continue showing up for ourselves every day, we will find that the benefits of self-care will not only transform our lives, but ripple out into everything we do. As we reflect on the path ahead, the first thing we must acknowledge is that self-care isn't a one-time fix or a seasonal luxury. In our busy, demanding lives, it can be easy to forget that our well-being should not be an afterthought. We often focus on achieving external success, such as career milestones, financial goals, or fulfilling the expectations of others, while neglecting the most important aspect of all, our health and inner peace. However, the journey of self-care teaches us that without mental and physical well-being, external success loses its value. Achievements become empty when they are not accompanied by a sense of fulfillment and balance. The practice of self-care is not about following a specific formula or adhering to rigid rules. It's about creating a personalized practice that works for you, taking the time to listen to your body, mind, and spirit, and responding with kindness and awareness. Some days this may look like setting aside time for a long walk in nature, while other days it may mean taking a few minutes to meditate or simply taking a break to breathe deeply. Self-care does not have to be grand gestures or elaborate rituals. It can be as simple as recognizing when you're tired and allowing yourself rest, or noticing when you're emotionally drained and taking steps to replenish your emotional energy. One of the most powerful aspects of self-care is that it builds resilience. Life will continue to present challenges, and we will face times when we feel overwhelmed, uncertain, or unsure. Yet when we prioritize self-care, we build the strength, clarity, and mental resilience to navigate those challenges with grace and composure. It's not about avoiding stress or hardship. It's about building the tools to face them without losing ourselves. The more we practice self-care, the more we strengthen our inner resolve and ability to bounce back from adversity. As you move forward in your journey of self-care, it's important to embrace imperfection. No one's self-care practice looks the same, and no one has it all together all the time. Life is unpredictable, and there will be moments when your self-care routine falters, when stress takes over, or when you feel disconnected from your own needs. This is normal. The key is not to strive for perfection, but to develop the ability to recalibrate. When you slip out of your routine, don't judge yourself. Instead, use it as an opportunity to return to your practice with renewed compassion for yourself. Another important part of sustaining your self-care practice is to create a support system. While self-care is deeply personal, we are not meant to navigate life's challenges alone. The relationships we build with others have a significant impact on our emotional and mental health. Healthy, supportive relationships are an integral part of self-care because they provide us with connection, validation, and the space to grow. Just as you've learned to set boundaries for your own well-being, it's equally important to foster relationships that honor your needs. A strong support system offers the encouragement, love, and understanding we need when we're struggling and can help us stay grounded when life feels overwhelming. In addition to building healthy relationships, it's crucial to engage in self-compassion. Throughout this audiobook, we've emphasized the importance of being kind to ourselves, especially during difficult moments. Self-compassion is a core aspect of self-care because it allows us to approach our challenges without self-criticism or judgment. Instead of reacting to setbacks with frustration or guilt, self-compassion encourages us to view ourselves with empathy and understanding. It teaches us to embrace our imperfections, knowing that we are worthy of love and care, no matter what. Self-care is also about learning to say no. In a world that demands so much from us, it's easy to fall into the trap of overcommitting, trying to please everyone, and neglecting our own needs. But self-care requires us to set boundaries and to say no when something doesn't align with our priorities. Saying no doesn't mean you're being selfish. It means you are respecting your time, energy, and emotional health. Saying no is an act of self-respect and self-love. It's about recognizing that you cannot be everything to everyone, and that by taking care of yourself, you will be in a better position to show up for others when it matters most. Ultimately, self-care is about finding balance. It's about understanding that life isn't always going to be perfectly aligned, and there will be times when we feel overwhelmed or out of sync. However, when we practice self-care consistently, we give ourselves the tools to manage life's fluctuations. We learn to navigate stress, build emotional resilience, and prioritize our health without guilt. We develop the capacity to adapt to life's challenges and maintain our sense of well-being no matter what comes our way. Self-care is not a destination. It's a journey. It is a lifelong practice that evolves as we do. And as we continue this journey, we can return to the practices that nourish us, recalibrate when needed, and always remember that we are worthy of taking care of ourselves. In conclusion, the art of self-care is about more than pampering yourself. It's about honoring your needs, nurturing your mind, body, and soul, and building a sustainable practice that supports your overall well-being. It's a commitment to yourself, to your health, and to living a life that is aligned with your values. Self-care is not just an indulgence. It's a necessary and transformative practice that can empower you to live a more balanced, fulfilling life. The journey of self-care is one of growth, learning, and resilience. It is the foundation upon which all other aspects of life are built. And as you continue to invest in yourself, you'll find that self-care not only enhances your life, it changes the way you experience the world.